Most people spend their entire lives chasing one thing and one thing alone. And I tell you one thing, it's not money. No, it's something that the ancient Celts called fáilte. And you've come across this word perhaps if you've ever been to Ireland, because as you enter the country at the airport, it says fáilte, go héireann, welcome to Ireland. But in the ancient language, it meant something completely different. It meant joy and bliss and pleasure. You know, this incredible feeling of butterflies in your stomach when you're newly in love, or when you finally achieve this one thing that you've been after for such a long time. It's fleeting, or so we think. And it's something that goes away quickly. It's something that we can't grasp. It's something that we can't make happen. And yet, it's the one thing that life is all about. And we think that money can buy it, but we think that if we have more status and more wealth and more power, more money, a bigger house, a bigger car, it will finally come to us. But in fact, as many very rich people can tell you, it gives you a brief sense of wow, but it wears off. So how do we do it? Is there even a way to get more of this in our lives? Now, my name is Tina Helmut, and I'm a Celtic scholar by training, and I have now dedicated my life to sharing ancient Celtic wisdom with the world so that people can have more of this in their lives. Because for those of you who don't know me, I had a very serious illness about 10 years ago, where from literally one second to the next, I became incredibly ill and I needed emergency surgery. And I remember as they wheeled me off into the operating theatre, the surgeon said to me, "It may well be that you do not wake up from this." And I remember thinking, as the doors closed behind me, and it was this dark operating theatre, and it was so cold, and I thought, what's happening? And I also thought, it can't be over. I was so unhappy most of my life. I didn't have enough of this. Although I'd always done everything right, and I had from the outside everything. I had a great job, I had friends, I'd money, I had a nice place to live. Everything seemed wonderful. I'd followed my dream of becoming a Celtic scholar, and yet this had been missing an awful lot of the time. And when I woke up again, I said, that's it. I never want to feel like that again. I'm now going to find out how to have more of this fáilte in my life. So I spent the next 10 years researching this, and I found the answer. I found the key to this in an ancient Celtic story. And it's the story of how a little boy named Setanta got his warrior name. Now, Setanta lived in ancient Ireland in the province of Ulster near Belfast. And he was the nephew of King Conchobar of Ulster. And one day, the King Conchobar had been invited to a feast by the smith, Cullen, the smith. And Cullen had said, do come with your men, and I'll entertain you. So Conchobar said, great. And on his travel there, on his journey there, he came past the playing field where young Setanta was playing hurling. Now, hurling, for those of you who don't know, it's an ancient game played with something like a hockey stick and a ball that's kind of like the size of my fist, made of hard leather. And King Conchobar said to Setanta, do you want to come along? Which was a great honour. And Setanta said, yeah, I'd love to, but I haven't finished playing yet. I'll follow you. So the King Conchobar said, that's grand. And he went on his way. Now, as he arrived at Cullen's house, and he invited them into his stronghold, he was a very powerful, very rich man, because the smith was, they were very highly regarded, and he had a big fortress. And when everybody was in from the king's men, Cullen said to the king, is everybody here? And the king said, oh yeah, we're all here, that's it. So then Cullen said, that's fine, I should close the fortress then, and I should release my hound. See, he had a big bloodhound that was used for protecting his belongings, his property, his livestock. And that was great. So, fortress was closed, dog was released. What the king had forgotten was about his little 6-year-old nephew who was going to come afterwards. And, they were all feasting, and suddenly they saw how the door opened, and in marched little Shitanta, and they were all going, because just as they became aware of the little presence in the courtyard, so did the bloodhound, and the bloodhound was like, whoa! And he opened his mouth, like this, and he belted towards the little boy. And the little boy, he hadn't seen the hound yet, and he was still playing with his bow and sort of kicked it upwards with his stick and, caught it again. And suddenly he saw this big gaping mouth. I mean, that's all he saw, literally, because the dog was so huge. And he was like thinking very quickly on his feet. He took his hurley, his stick, and whacked the ball straight into the wide open mouth of this dog with such a force that the ball went right through the dog, coming out the other end. So the dog died. So everybody was delighted, and they ran outside into the courtyard, and they took the little boy in and they put him onto Conrovers, the king's lap, and the king was delighted. Everybody was happy except one person, the smith, who was not happy because his dog had been killed. And he came out to the king and he actually said, well, I'm happy for you, but what about me? My dog is now the protector of my livestock and of my property, is now dead. Who's going to take care of this now for me? And little Shitanta, 6 years of age, heard this, and he said, okay, I tell you what I do. I hear you, and I'm going to make sure that a dog of the same breed is going to be reared for you. And until this dog is big enough again to take the place of the dog I killed, I shall be your protector. I shall serve as your hound. And I will look after your livestock. I will protect your livelihood. And the smith accepted this. And the druid heard this, and he came up, Druid Cathart, and he came up and he looked at the little boy and he thought for a minute, and then he said, okay, from now on your new name shall be Cu Chulin. That is Cu for the hound. Cu is the ancient word for dog, and then Chulin is the genitive case, so of Cullen, so Cullen's hound. And that was the warrior name of that little boy until the day he died. And he went on to do incredible deeds for the country. Now, what this story really highlights, we should really, this little boy, Cuchulainn, he is like a role model in ancient Ireland. He was the paradigm of how to behave. And the story really highlights something very important. It highlights that when you want to have fáilte, it's not about things, it's about behavior. Okay, so we often think, or some people think at least, that if you want to get ahead in life and you want to get what you want, you need to be self-indulgent, looking out for number one. I really hate that phrase. But a lot of people live accordingly. They only look out for number one. But that's not how you achieve fáilte. That's not how you get it. And on the contrary, the opposite is true, as this story, this ancient story from Ireland highlights. In order to have fáilte, what you really need is behavior that is looking out for other people, taking responsibility. You can sum it up by protect and serve. Thank you, LA police. So protect and serve. Ancient wisdom, still very valid in our modern time. And if you want to introduce this into your own lives, if you want more of this in your own lives, then I would recommend you look out for those times where you can serve and protect other people. It can be something small, like, somebody needs to get in on traffic and you just brake, you let them in. Protecting them, you're serving them, but you're also protecting them, sometimes even from themselves. Some people need protection from themselves, believe me. So you know that. And I can guarantee you, if you have more of this in your life, if you introduce more of this into your lives, you will have more of fáilte in your life. You will have more of joy and pleasure and bliss and just this incredible feeling. And you can make it happen. It's in your hands. to have more of this. It's in the way you behave. So go out there, protect and serve. And if you enjoyed this video, please share it with your friends and family, and also sign up to my channel so that you get notified when I release my next video. Until then, be safe. Slán.